So some of those things that we discussed are obstacles. Some, however, are opportunities. In general, though, what are the tech trends that are helping banks to compete in this evolving marketplace? Well, overall, the concept of digital transformation, right? So that's mobile, online chatbots. The deployment of chatbots alone is going to save the banking industry over $7.3 billion by next year. We did mention fintech partnerships earlier, which can be beneficial, but there's a caveat there. So banks are partnering with fintech and other non-banks to help them innovate, but it's costing them quite a bit. Forrester is estimating double-digit growth in bank tech spending this year, and there's a particular bump in fintech investments. So they're trying to adapt, but traditional organizations still have this fear in the back of their minds about what this boom in fintechs is going to mean for them. More than 3/4 of banks are fearing the financial industry growth rate is going to cost them customers, and about half of them have expressed high levels of fear of fintech companies like Apple Pay and Stripe. Now, from the fintech perspective, it's not all bright and rosy either. 50% of fintech executives don't feel they found the right collaborative partnerships with these traditional banks either, and that's according to payments, cards, and mobile data. With that said, one reason for this low level of cooperation may have to do with low agility on the bank's part. So apparently, only 21% of traditional banks have the agile capabilities to successfully work with fintech companies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that concept of agility on the next slide, but just keep that in mind as we move forward. Then you've got this concept of AI and blockchain. So traditional banking is adopting AI for robo-advisors. And by the end of this year, robo-advisors are going to manage $2 trillion in assets. Then you've got blockchain, which is allowing data to be stored globally across thousands of servers and totally revolutionizing how central banks and financial markets are operating right now. However, central banks and financial markets are not the only ones trying to benefit from blockchain. We bring that fintech conversation back into the picture, and we see that fintech is, when it comes to blockchain and regulatory technology, those are two of the fastest growing segments for that industry. So it's fantastic that traditional organizations are adopting blockchain, but they got to keep in mind, so is fintech, and they're using it in different ways. All right, here's our conversation about APIs again. So the basic gist of this conversation is the following. Legacy systems, outdated types of programs that do not integrate well with modern applications are slowing down this digital transformation effort that traditional organizations are trying to adopt right now. And that is part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is that they're sucking up all of the budgets as well. Without integration capacity through APIs, it's costing traditional banks 60 to 80% of their total budget on operations and maintenance alone of their software systems. That is a huge, horrifying chunk. Then we've got low code, no code. And so we'll define this a little bit more and flesh this out a little bit later, but the basic gist of low code and no code is that you are enabling faster innovation and more modern user experiences and scaled application development without forcing teams to rely on DevApps, without forcing teams to rely on fintech, without forcing teams to rely on IT so heavily. Because what low code and no code is all about is accomplishing those things with a visual interface that doesn't require coding knowledge, that doesn't require, writing out and scripting data. So they can have regular users building these innovative user experiences for clients without that heavy DevOps layer. And it's showing real benefits for the banks that are adopting it. I'll explain some examples later on, but here's some stats to get us started. It's reducing time to market 40 to 60% for rapid application development, and it's reducing the cost of change by up to 35% when working across siloed applications. Then we've got the concept of agility coming back into play here. So banks with agile cultures are introducing new products and services faster. They're quicker at identifying and making cost reductions. Their customer ratings are improving. The impact is eye-opening. For example, there's a leading US mortgage provider, and they reduced the time it took to roll out new product features by as much as 75% by adopting agile practices. So they went from 3 to 6 months to roll out a new product feature to 6 to 8 weeks. In conjunction with that, they found that the percentage of customers who were using the new features jumped from 50 to 87%. And not surprisingly, probably, their JD Power customer survey ratings rose as well. Underneath the agility bullet point here, there's a couple more stats to back that up, but I think one of the most powerful is this first one, that a large global bank deployed a digital channel with mobile first experience, and they cut the cost of customer research by 94% with agile approaches. So that is significant.